got that real star quality about him, and I think this week, what I've been watching, the way he's handled it all is fantastic, and a good win on Saturday night, it puts him in a great place for the big one next year.
The fella that he's up against,
Yes.
Placido Ramirez, is no stranger to going to hometowns. He's happy to do that. He's happy to be the away fighter, the party spoiler. When he comes to the northeast, he's going to face a very hostile environment. You've gone away before. You've had to go to places where it's not Manchester. How do you prepare for something like that?
I think obviously it's mindset, being strong mentally. You can't let that crowd get to you coming away from your game plan. I'm sure Ramirez obviously has got a game plan coming into it. But I think, Ramirez the type of character he seems. I think, Sunderland, it could be as intimidating as anywhere in the world, but like you say, just a few fights back, he went into someone's hometown in Albania, so it's not new to him, do you know what I mean? He just doesn't see the type of character, what I know of him, what I've seen of him, to let that get to him. So I believe the hometown, I think it'd be more how Josh deals with that. But then at the same time, I believe Josh is a showman. He's a showman. I know me and you were speaking off air saying, the one night it did go wrong for Josh was the worst possible settings. Because Josh, away from the camera, very humble, quiet, lad. But I believe when Josh is best in front of the lights, in front of the camera, he embraces it. And obviously the fight was in lockdown against a very good opponent, Mayad. But I think now he's going to embrace every single bit of this on Friday night.
It's funny you bring that up. I mean, it's always going to be a talking point. I think it's getting less of a talking point, especially after performances like the Troy Williamson one. But for me, the biggest learning fight was actually before Avanesian. It was when you have to go back to New York when he took on Ray Robinson.
Ray Robinson, I was there. And I believe that night as well, listen, very close fight, obviously a draw. But with that was Josh was matched very well and tough early on in his career. And I think a big part of that is Adam Boo's belief in the special talent that Josh Kelly is in. I think anyone in British boxing who knows Adam Boo, if he speaks and he speaks so highly about a talent, you listen. But yeah, that night, and I just believe, for me, I think Josh is a much better fighter, a much more energised fighter at Super Welter. And I think that night when he sort of faded late on, I believe the weight had something to do with it. That's not me making excuses for him. But I've thought that a few times, and I thought it was always going to be tough for Josh at welterweight. I believe he looks much happier now at super welterweight, much more energised, much more comfortable for. He's now a 12-round fighter. Back when he was a welterweight, I don't believe he was a 12-round fighter. The talent was there and everything else, but just the tempo he could fight at. But no, that was a fantastic event. And when you look at that early on in his career, draw, then the loss to David Avanesian, people wrote him off. He come back just over 12 months ago, put on a fantastic performance. Obviously, we've only seen him out once more this year, but we want another great performance on Saturday night to keep this hype rolling, because, in my opinion, it's a fighter who can deliver every bit of hype around him.
I think one thing that's really important to mention, and you mentioned the weight there and coming up and looking more comfortable. Ahead of that Troy Williamson fight, and you hosted the face-off, you saw it in front of everybody. Troy was saying, I know that you're going to come fast and strong in the first few rounds, but when you gas, and you will, that's when I'm coming. Fast forward to the fight, round 10, 11, he's moving
really happen,
as though it was round 3, 4 and 5. And that's the difference that being comfortable at weight can make.
100%. Listen, any fighter or even anyone in the gym who's bringing the weight down just for personal gains, experiences, they'll know once that weight goes that little bit too low, you've just not got that zip. Listen, I think on a Wasserman show, he had a fighter of mine a few weeks back. In Moorcroft, he's now going to move up in weight in the gym. He's the fittest lad in the gym. He's got a zip, comes to fight night. He was looking tight. It wasn't because he'd not trained hard, and it wasn't because he was unfit, but it just takes that zip out of you. And I think what happened with Josh, I remember at welterweight, I used to think over 3 rounds, you would give him realistically not just a chance, you'd make him a favourite against almost anyone in the world at that weight. But it's those championship rounds, then it starts going 9, 10, 11. When seasoned fighters, if you've not got that pop in your shots, you've not got that zip in your legs to move, especially how Josh fights, because Josh fights very high tempo. He's not a plodder or anything like that, so he needs to be switched on. He needs to have that energy. I just believe that in the Troy fight, shown more than ever, that was the right thing to do, move up in weight.
Just before we bring on a couple of the fighters that are going to be joining him very quickly, when you're getting ready to fight at your hometown, how did it resonate with you? I mean, there's the iconic shot of Manchester.
Yeah.
Does that play in your head before you walk out?
No, of course. It's. I think with that, there's a lot of people in that place who you know personally in that arena. Just like there's going to be so many in there on Saturday night for Josh, who know Josh personally, who he knows them personally. He's going to on the ring walk. He's going to see faces like, oh wow, yeah, know you, and it is like you've got to take that in. But I've always been said you can't let that get to you. But I think when Josh, as much as he's a showman or a dancer in the ring or what's the ring, he's very much he's zoned in. Do you know what I mean? It wouldn't. I don't think that will affect him. But I think you can't help but dream of those things like when I finish the fight, what I'm gonna do. That's just normal. And I'm sure, like you say, Josh would have thought this over and over in his head. I think how he's gonna walk, what he's gonna walk out to, and stuff like that. And just to feel comfortable as you can with it, but we will not know until that first bell, that ring walk on Saturday night.
Absolutely. Well, on Saturday night, Josh Kelly does bring the action to the North East. It's not just Josh who's bringing the talent from the North East, though. Dan Toward and Ben Marksby are two. They're not Sunderland lads, but we're going to bring them in as North East talent all the same. They're going to be on the cards. Lads, very good afternoon. Thank you both, Ben Marksby, Dan Toward, for joining us. Dan, start with yourself. Debut just a couple of weeks ago. What a debut it was. Welcome back. How are you feeling?
Yeah, good. Looking forward to Saturday and putting on another solid performance.
You were very quick out the blocks to show us what you could do. We spoke after the fight, and you said that, okay, it was debut. Maybe there was slight nerves, excitement, adrenaline, only to be expected. But once that first round got out of the way and you came down, you really showed what you can do. Is that something you're looking to do again on Saturday?
Just take it all in and enjoy it. Like you say, it's definitely different from the amateurs. Big change, the gloves, the lights, the cameras. But took it all in my stride. Like you said, the first round, come out, started a bit fast, rushed my work at times, but got into the flow of things in the second, started to land the clean shots, and enjoyed it, and looking forward to Saturday.
Ben, a couple of extra fights under your belt, but a North East boy all the same. How do you feel coming out on Saturday night here in Sunderland?
Yeah, I'm excited. Like I say, I've got another prospect as well, so I think I should be able to show my talent now.
What kind of performance are you looking for on Saturday?
I mean, listen, to be a win, just outbox and show my skills, really.
We've got next to us former world champion, someone who knows this game as well as anybody. And what do you see in these guys when you see these young fighters coming through?
I was about to say, how do you feel? And so for the first time in your career, you feel like it's going to favour you? You're fighting someone who's undefeated. He's going to come to win. He's going to come to win. Every fighter says it, but I'm going to ask you that you much prefer that you're going to get your own shots, because I've seen fights there where fighters after the first round they thought, this is going to be a hard night. I get stopped here off Ben, I'm going to be suspended for 28 days. You're going to much prefer this fighter who's going to come for the record, and you're confident he does. You can get a stoppage.
Like I said, I am confident because I think that it will bring the best of me out.
Yeah.
I think when you do like even in sparring, when you spar better kids, you perform better. And I think that's what will happen Saturday. And
the shots will be there, the counters, everything like that. Yeah. When someone tucks up, it's a little bit harder to get those shots off.
Yeah, it's like almost like with fighting the journeyman. It's hard, and like sometimes it's hard to look good against them.
Yeah, of course.
But like I say, Saturday, I've got a prospect, unbeaten prospect, so should be good.
No, good stuff. And Dan, obviously it's been just a few weeks. You're used to that quick turnaround in whether it be in ABA championships, however many national titles it was. Are you happy with that quick turnaround?
Definitely. I think we're fighting 2 weeks before. It just brings momentum. Yeah. And ring rust is definitely a thing. I hadn't fought in 6 months. But since 2 weeks ago, I've been 6 months in May. And momentum and just keep me sharp. Yeah.
Good.
What have you taken from that fight? Have you had a chance to watch it back? Have you assessed your performance? There wasn't much of a performance to assess. It was such a short fight. But have you had the chance to have a look back and maybe learn a thing or two about yourself?
Yeah, I look back and I just think you just got to take your time, settle into it and find your job. And what like you say is after that first round and I settled into it, that's when I started to find the gaps and land them shots. So just going to take that in. I've got 6 rounds to break them down and get them out of there. That's what I'm always looking to do with performing in front of people, make sure that they get the money's worth. So just take my time and pick my shots.
Ben, do you? I mean, you've been where Dan was not too long ago, where you've got that debut nerves and then they've gone, and then you've got to kind of settle into that. Do you see Dan's progression, and do you sort of compare that to your own journey? You can see what he's going through, having been through it so recently yourself.
Yeah, and like I said, Dan's probably doing it a bit faster than me because I started off on the small old shows.
Yeah.
Whereas it probably is a bit more pressure when you're having your debut on bigger shows like this.
Also starting with 6 rounds as well. So you say not many. There's only the very, very highly accomplished amateurs who would start with 6 rounders. But like say, so most fighters do start on the 4, but you're comfortable with that. You're comfortable with starting on the 6 rounds?
Yeah, definitely. I think them 4 rounds is still very similar to the amateurs. You only get an extra round. I think with my style,
take your time,
you can take your time. You know, look better over them 6. Pick your shots, break them down.
Yeah.
Well, Team Josh Kelly are walking in around us, I think, at the moment. Dan Toward, Ben Maxby, thank you very much. We'll allow you to go and prepare.
Thank you.
Another big talent on the card this weekend is Tom Welland, who made his debut also not so long ago, Wasserman Show in Brighton. Tom, of course, raved about, of course, by none other than Manny Pacquiao. He joins us now. Yes, Tom, how are you? Good to see you again. Back under the lights this Saturday in Sunderland. How are you feeling?
Unbelievable. I mean, it's good to be active. I was a very active fighter as an amateur, so to get back out straight away and to have the team put their trust in me is unbelievable for me. So to get back out, looking forward to Sunderland, looking forward to being on another away day. So yeah, looking forward to it. Can't wait to get under the lights now.
And I'm sure you saw it.
Yeah, I was going to say, what an impressive debut. I've just said the same to Dan. How do you feel about the quick turnaround? Are you happy with that? Because obviously the national titles, the activity you had as an amateur, are you happy with that?
Yeah, very happy. I mean, as an amateur, you fight 2 or 3 times over a weekend. You do the same the week after. So it was always quick turnarounds as an amateur. So I'm very used to getting out, getting back in, getting out, getting back in all the time. So for me, this is no different to normality, really. Obviously now this time it's 6 rounds rather than 4, but for me it's a bit more professional. And obviously I get under a massive card in Sunderland, so really looking forward to it.
There was, of course, a lot of eyeballs on that debut fight after having a slightly famous former fighter shout you out. Have you been in touch with Manny Pacquiao since he gave you that first good luck message?
No, I haven't, but I've been speaking to his son, Emmanuel. So I know that Emmanuel's still in the Philippines in Manila. He's training hard. But his, obviously, Pacquiao's son, he reached out to me and was like, mate, looking forward to seeing you, David, looking forward to seeing you out again. And I know that a lot of the Filipinos that didn't know me before, they do know me now through the Pacquiao video. So again, it's good exposure for me, and it's more rivals coming through the cameras onto the ring.
We've got a family friend of the Pacquiaos here.
Yeah, wow.
Joining us.
Boxing royalty.
And I draw on you because your experience is as good as anybody's I've met in the sport. When you're the young fighter coming through and you have heroes, other fighters patting you on the back, I mean, you and I show our age a little bit. Social media maybe wasn't as big back then as it was now, but you must know what it's like. What does it do for you as a fighter when you've got this guy going, let's go, mate?
Listen, I remember once having a world title fight, Alex Ferguson done me a video before it. I know it's not boxing related, but I was like, wow. But it gives you that massive buzz, that extra few percent in training. You're like, wow, I want to do some. One thing I wanted to ask you was, I ask this nearly every top amateur, every amateur turns over to professional. I always say the same to him. It's like, it might have been, for me especially because you had to wear head guards, but when you first get in there as a professional, you almost feel naked. You almost feel naked for the first time, or did it not feel like that to you because the head guard was off by the time you finished?
To be fair, like my last season as an amateur, I did box without a head guard, so I boxed as an elite without a head guard. So it was fine. Like it didn't change. It didn't feel any different. But the smaller gloves were a big thing. Obviously, going from 10 ounce to 8 ounce gloves, that was a big thing. And you can feel everything through them 8 ounce gloves. Like even if you take a shot on the gloves, you feel his knuckle. You can feel absolutely everything. So that was a big change. But other than that, the head guards were completely fine. So
we touched on it last time, Thomas. One of the main differences is, if not the main difference of going from amateur to pro, is this stuff. Is the lights, is the camera, is the microphone. Is that something that you feel you're adapting to? Because this is something that you probably won't have had to deal with too many times before, and now it's a regular occurrence.
Yeah, I mean, I've barely done this as an amateur, if anything. I mean, in the Philippines, it's quite big with their Olympic squad, but here, I mean, even over there, though, you're working with very limited resources. But even here, it's so different, so different. I mean, the weigh-ins, we're used to just getting on scales, getting off and going. That's it. But now you've got face-off, you've got press conferences. But to be fair, once you do it and you do the first week and you sort of get the nerves out of the way, it's completely fine. Like this week, it has felt like fight week, but I've not been as nervous for the press conference.
A lot more relaxed.
Yeah, a lot more relaxed. So definitely getting used to it, definitely adjusting. But it comes over time. The more you do it, the more you get used to it.
And for you in your career, very early career, fledgling career at this moment. When you look around, and okay, it's great to see Josh Kelly and the other big names here in the Wasserman stable, but we just had Dan Howard, Ben Maxby. There's other young fighters who are coming through as well. Chloe Watson, we saw the other week, make that step and go up and take the. Does that give you hope and that inspiration that you're in the right place here, because you can see the progression laid out in front of you? Is that something that you think about as well as the in-the-ring stuff?
Yeah, definitely. Just to be rubbing shoulders with these sort of people that
this guy,
like this guy. Yeah, exactly that. Like with Anthony Crowder and people like that. Like just be rubbing shoulders with them. You know you're in the right place. Chloe Watson winning the EBU. You've got Josh Kelly fighting for a potential world title in the next couple of fights. Like just be rubbing shoulders with these sorts of people. It gives a young fighter like myself, like Dan Howard, the motivation to be like, we want to achieve. Even if I achieve half of what they've achieved, even if I achieve half of what you've achieved, I've done quite well.
Don't sell yourself. I mean that. He's special talent, this lad. I really mean that. And that's what I was going to get onto there was, do you feel right now? So listen, obviously at 4-rounder, you move straight into a 6th round after this, but Saturday night, do you believe so much your learning's done in the sparring, in the gym?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've done quite a few rounds of O'Hara Davis. We know he's fighting for a world title.
Of course,
so I've done a lot of rounds of O'Hara. I've done a lot of rounds with top quality opposition, heavier weights, older men, big and strong men. So a lot of my learning does come in sparring, and then I just have to transfer it into the ring. But for me myself, I think I need the more rounds I get, and the more time that I have to break an opponent down, it suits me down to the ground. I was a good amateur. I had to adapt to be an amateur, but the 3 rounds didn't suit me. The 4 rounds won't suit me. The more time I have, the more you'll see the best of me. So I'm very grateful for that.
Tom, the only time I can resonate with training with heavier men is my Sunday League team. It's a very different style of training, I can tell you that. Tom, I think we better let you go because it looks like they may be waiting for you up on the top table. We are here in Sunderland as this Saturday, live on DAZN, Josh Kelly will take to the stage the first time as a pro here in his hometown. He's taking on Placido Ramirez in what is a great fight. And you speak to all the local talent, the youngsters coming through here. That's the excitement you want as a fan, to see these guys and say, I was on their career at the debut.
Early,
fights
nice
1
and
and
early.
2.
And they'll get behind it. Listen, the people of the North East, I would say it, Sunderland, they do the same, Newcastle, they get behind their own. And that's why I think it's so important for Josh Kelly. I know he's a much more established name to be here in his hometown, but the lads on the undercard as well. I think the North East for so long has been abandoned when it shouldn't. The special talent they've had coming through the amateurs, and it's now starting more regular shows coming back here.
Josh Kelly, of course, is the man that leads the charge in the North East. He's at the top table now, as are the rest of the card this Saturday, of course. DAZN is the one that goes down. The people in the press conference are all but there. Just before we throw to the man, I say there that he's sort of Josh is leading by example. He's the local guy, but he's also done good. He's going up to that world stage, fighting on all these big stages. He is literally the one that these guys can look at and say, that's where I want to be.
Of course, listen, you just mentioned it there. The other North East kids on the card, they think, no, I want these big nights. I want to bring these big nights back to the North East, just like Josh is. And listen, there's a stadium across the road, a stadium like this, and the dream for Josh Kelly is to get there for a world title. And with the team behind him, he just has to perform, and that'll happen.
Well, thank you very much, Anthony Croller. We're all but ready here in Sunderland for the press conference for Kelly Ramirez. We're going to throw to Phil Kirkbride.
Afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Stadium of Light for this pre-fight press conference ahead of Saturday night's huge homecoming for Josh Kelly. Josh Kelly versus Placido Ramirez at the Beacon of Light just across the road. Close to a sellout, tickets still available, but be fast. Live on DAZN from 7 p.m, of course, as well, on Saturday night. We'll talk to each of the main guys in person, but before we get into the questions, we'll throw to Carla Sowland to set the scene on what promises to be an emotional and electric atmosphere on Saturday, Carla, as Josh fights in his hometown for the first time as a professional.
Good afternoon, Sunderland. Lovely to be in this fantastic city. The last time I was here was for England versus Turkey many, many years ago at the Stadium of Light. Was a lively affair. We're expecting a very lively affair on Saturday night, live on DAZN, 7 p.m. If you're Sunderland fans, better not do that mistake too often. If you're coming back from Bristol, you can watch it on your iPad, your phone, whatever it is. You won't miss Josh making his first appearance here in many, many years. I think, was it 2013 years? Am I correct? 13 years? Listen, this young man, number 1 in the world now, returns home to where he last fought as an amateur. Number 1 in the world, steered by the legendary Adam Booth. The improvement's massive. Great platform Saturday night. It's the perfect place to promote Josh before those big fights next year. Not overlooking the man to my left, a late replacement, luckily was in training, so we expect a full-powered Ramirez. A Colombian banger. You can ask a few British big names. Ask Amir Khan about Colombian bangers, and they've certainly got history here for causing those upsets. There ain't going to be an upset Saturday night, but hopefully it'll be a bit exciting. Josh will always put on a masterclass, and I'm looking forward to seeing a masterclass Saturday night. Come on to the undercard in a minute, but it's a massive card, and we've got some great names which we'll talk about in a few minutes' time.
Absolutely, that's probably where we'll start. We'll come back and we'll build towards talking about the main event. But at the far end of the table, huge ticket seller, huge hero in Sunderland, Travis Waters. Great to have you back on the Wasserman Show, Travis. Just give us an insight for us who've not experienced a show in this part of the world. What can we expect on Saturday evening inside that beacon of light?
I think it'll be really packed. I've sold nearly 300 tickets, so I know I've got a big support in the city, and I'm really looking forward to it.
And just for people, Travis, who may be outside of the area, who are unfamiliar with your backstory and where you've come over 160 amateur bouts, I was reading, is that correct?
Yeah, I had 2 national titles as an amateur and well into a long amateur career, like 16 year, 160 odd amateur fights. Yeah, that's correct.
What's the secret to shifting nearly 300 tickets?
I'm not really sure, mate. Just being an exciting fighter, I like to believe, but popular as well, so that's a factor.
I remember last year, 300 sounds like 3,000 because I remember them last December, very loud 300.
No, looking forward to that, and make sure you tune in to watch Travis and his army of supporters who will set the evening up very nicely. Also staying at that end of the table, Darlington Ben Marksby. Ben, obviously part of the Wasserman family. Great to have you back again. Busy year for you. There's been some learning experiences in the last couple of fights. Would that be fair to say?
Yeah, definitely. A good couple of learning fights. So, and this next fight is another good fight with a prospect. So I'm looking forward to it.
What do you know about who's facing you in the ring on Saturday, and how are you ready to combat and deal with that?
I don't know too much about him. I can remember him as an amateur. He was a couple of years younger than me as an amateur, so he was always thereabouts in the championships. So I've seen his face a couple of times.
What have you learned about yourself in the last couple of fights? Because we've alluded to it there. A couple of point deductions in the last one, and you weren't too happy with your own performance in Newcastle back in the summer. What have you come out of the other side of that, learning about yourself, and what sort of improvements, and what we're going to see on Saturday?
Just needed to relax, I think, and like I said, I've had another good camp, and I think now I've got a good fight in front of me, a good fighter in front of me. I think I should be able to show my skill.
And obviously, everything goes well Saturday. Hopefully, that'd be you 9-0. Is 2024 when you start pushing for titles and asking for those title shots and things like that?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, I'll be 9-0 going into next year, and these are the fights I need. Like, I don't think it's good anymore fighting journeyman. I need these good fights.
Yeah, absolutely. Looking forward to a big 2024 for Ben. Immediately, a man to my right, not from this part of the country, but from Essex, Tom Welland, Atomic Tom. A sensational professional debut in Brighton a couple of weeks ago. Tom, how are you feeling?
Very good. Good to be back.
Tell us about that debut, 4th round knockout. I think it was a body shot in the end, wasn't it? They did the business. Go on, talk us through it. It was spectacular.
He was a tough opponent, but it took a lot to get him to beat him down and to figure him out. But once I did, I let my hands go. The body shot came, and it was a little rib tickler, and he went down. So yeah, it was a good little performance, good debut. But we're just looking to build now.
Calla, when you see a professional debut like Tom's, all action, vicious, spiteful, how excited does that make you for what we can and how we can match him going forward, and what's potentially in coming ahead for Tom?
Well, first of all, we don't sign, every boxer that comes through the doors of Wasserman. We see ourselves a bit more boutique, so we look at what we're signing, especially Nissa, Tom, Dan, also Ben, but Tom and Dan had fantastic debuts, and it's just great to get them back out. At the beginning of a career, you wanna see activity. Their activity will be two in the space of a month, more or less, and that's going to continue. That both had fantastic debuts, and then it's a journey. There's ups and downs. Ask Josh and Adam about ups and downs. To get to that top, it's not one smooth way. Doesn't work. It doesn't work that way in boxing. Never has, never will. And those ups and downs, that's where, debut nice. You only get one of them, so you want to make the most of that. But from then on, it's activity. It's moving forward. It's picking the right fights also at the right time, getting that experience. So when you get to the level of Ben, when you're 9-0, and you're going into those fights that aren't, you can't select your opponent when you go to championship level. So you might end up with a southpaw, a short opponent, fast opponent, big puncher, technician. So you've got to have that feeling that you've already been in with something similar in the ring beforehand, and that's something that we always look to achieve. But yeah, first and foremost, activity. Great that they both enjoyed their debuts. May it long last.
Indeed. Tom, how different did it feel, that transition? Being a pro, camera, in your face, under the lights, big crowd. Did it feel natural to you? The way you fight seems like ready-made for the pros. But what about the experience of being a pro compared to an amateur?
Yeah, I would say it felt natural to me, to be honest. Obviously, there's always cameras in the gym. There's always people following you around. And going to the Philippines and representing in the Filipino Olympic squad, there was always a camera there. There was always a lot of people wanting to have an interview, a lot of people wanting to talk. So to come back and to do it as a professional, it didn't really feel like much of a transition. But that's a good thing, because then I just sat back and I looked at my boxing and I thought, you know what, there's a few things I want to change going into my professional debut, and there's a few things I want to change going into my career. And I can fully focus on that, so I was very happy with it.
And tell the good people of Sunderland, who sent you a good luck message ahead of the fight?
Mr. Manny Pacquiao, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Pacquiao sent me a message, and I still speak to his son Emmanuel a lot now, following that message. So it's nice to know that we have a nice little connection with the Pac-Man and the Filipino people. So, and there's a lot more Filipinos now that are sort of getting behind me, that know my name, following that message from Pacquiao. So with a bit of luck heading into the future, possibly maybe a world title fight in the Philippines, that won't go amiss.
Carl, I saw you smiling there when you mentioned the video message off Manny Pacquiao. I mean, amazing support from a legend of the game. I mean, what can that do for a young pro like Tom?
Yeah, I mean, I was lucky enough to promote Nonito Donaire. Also promoted his fight against Inui, which was Fight of the Year in Tokyo in front of 24,000 people. It's crazy. But Asian boxing's mad. It's the smaller weights, but boy, oh boy, it's no retreat, no surrender over there. And yeah, look, great the plaudits, and that's part of the promotional game. I'd say look at what Manny did in his career and try and emulate it. That's the real message here. I'll have to get you Nonito to send you one as well. The Filipino Flash. I like that name actually. Yeah. So yeah, no, exciting, great, and again, it's a path we don't choose lightly who we sign, and it's a path that we look forward to go on together. I think I was counting it recently. I must have been very bored on a Sunday. I think it's 24 or 23 or 24 world champions that I've managed in 23 years to build from scratch, i.e. 0 and 0. So hopefully a couple sitting up here today in the future as well. There's certainly one next to me here, but from the younger guard, whether it's Travis, whether it's Ben, Dan, Tom, that's the future. Very exciting.
And Tom, just the last one before we move on. For people inside the Beacon of Light on Saturday, or for the guys tuning in live on DAZN, what are you going to produce?
We're going to produce something spectacular. We're going to go out, we're going to look for development, but you can expect headaches and sore ribs.
Your opponent has been warned. Thank you, Tom. Moving on now to another guy, 1-0, made his debut only 2 weeks ago. Spectacular again. Mr. Dan Tower from Newcastle. Dan, how are you feeling?
Yeah, good, thank you. Good to be here and looking to put on another solid performance Saturday night.
Has that buzz died down from the debut? We spoke to you afterwards. You were on cloud 9, and understandably so, from a second round stoppage. It was sensational stuff.
Yeah, definitely. I was happy, but just strictly business. I knew that I was back out in 2 weeks' time, and just straight back preparing for Saturday night.
What does the next 12 months look like for you, Dan? You know, that performance caught people's attention, and maybe some people are now looking at your career and how quickly you can be mixing it in titles in a different light because it was so emphatic.
We take each fight as it comes, but not many prospects would have took that on the debut. Winning record, he weighed in 9 pound heavy, and I got him out with that in the second round over a 6 rounder for my debut. So the next 12 months, that's up to my management, my coaches, but just looking to build and hopefully another good performance Saturday and put me in good stead for 2024.
And similar to a question that I asked Tom about that difference between being an amateur, obviously like Tom, you know, you've been there, seen it and done it as an amateur, but what was it like having a camera live on TV in your face, under the lights, big crowd? How did that feel? You know, was it nervous, or did you just embrace the whole moment?
Took it all in my stride. It's definitely different, you know, hitting someone in them 10-ounce little gloves compared to the 12-ounce stings, and the amateurs are like pillows. That was definitely a big difference. The lights, the cameras, but no, I enjoyed it. I've prepared for this my whole life.
Kalle, you know, we spoke to Dan in Bolton a couple of weeks ago and talked about debuts, but did he exceed expectations almost, even though we knew of his background and his pedigree as a title-winning amateur? It still was really headline-grabbing stuff in Bolton.
Yeah, but I'll be quite honest, I expected it. I remember him coming off the stage when we had the press conference in fight week, and he said to me, "You know I'm going to be one." And he's got that aura about him where you know he's going places. I'm very surprised that we haven't mentioned, or I'll let you say it, how many, for people who don't know in here, how many times did you win the amateurs?
I don't think it's been mentioned 10 times.
I was about to say, it's the first press conference we haven't mentioned it. 10 times. Not 9, not 8, 10 times amateur champion. So, you know, winning is a habit. It's a good habit, you know. Keep it going.
And Dan, I mean, this is obviously not the best place for a big Newcastle fan like yourself, but are you still hopeful of winning over some Sunderland supporters on Saturday evening?
Definitely. But I'll be looking in the future to bring big nights to Newcastle. But I don't mind fighting in Sunderland. We've got what we've got to do, and looking forward to a big night on Saturday.
And Kalle, you know, as Dan said, we've been to Newcastle recently with Josh. We were in there this summer, and of course Josh's phenomenal performance last December against Troy. You know, Newcastle's still on our radar as well for somewhere like Dan can box in front of his home fans. Yeah,
I mean, I think we've done 2 or 3 shows this year in Newcastle. So certainly 3 in the last 12 months. So, yeah, we love it up here. But very interested to see the crowd on Saturday night. We do a little judging between Newcastle and Sunderland. I've heard all rumours about Black Eye Friday as well. Very excited to see that Friday night. Might grab a curry and have a look around the streets, what's happening there. But, yeah, great to be up here. So they're proper fighting towns. There's some great young talents. And a champ to be next year. Number 1 in the world. Again, I haven't let him talk yet, but yeah.
We will do now. No, thank you, Kalle. As we say, great undercard supporting the main event on Saturday night, packed with talent, national amateur pedigrees, potential, knockouts, viciousness, stoppages coming, great talent. Make sure you tune in on DAZN or get a ticket to watch the undercard to support the main event, which, of course, Josh Kelly versus Placido Ramirez. Josh, we'll start with you. How are you feeling? I've just sensed in the build-up over the last couple of weeks, despite the change of opponent, focus is laser focused, calm, relaxed, and supremely confident.
Yeah, bro. I've been getting ready now for 16. I think me and Kalle and Adam agreed an opponent 16 weeks ago. So I've been in training camp for 16 weeks, and that guy pulled out. So it is what it is. It's boxing. It wouldn't matter if it was him or Ramirez. They're both getting beaten. So that's the end of the story. But I've trained so hard. I've trained clever. I've trained smart. I've never let the foot off the gas since the last fight. So I'm not going to enjoy it. Put a performance on in front of all the Sunderland lads, and just enjoy it, bro. It's my time.
You said something to me. I think it was last week where you said you feel like you're punching harder than you have ever punched in your career. I mean, if that's not a warning to Ramirez or anybody in the division, nothing else is.
No, I am punching generally hard now. I'm not sure whether it's the weight, the maturity, the belief, but I'm not trying, and I'm putting guys out in sparring, putting people down, and I'm just it's starting to go to a whole new level. So listen, it's not believing in yourself now. It's knowing stuff about yourself. When you get to this stage, you have to know stuff to be able to go to that next level, to be able to challenge for world titles and to be able to challenge at the top. You have to know you've got that something about you. So been tested plenty times in the gym, been tested plenty times through the professionals and in the amateurs, and I know where I'm at. I know where I'm destined to be going, and it's just a matter of time until we get there.
Carla, when Wasserman started this journey with Josh, what difference do you see in him now from when you first signed Josh to the man who sits next to you now, you know, on the brink of a homecoming and a huge 2024?
Where do I start? I'll try and keep it short. I think really I see a complete Josh. I think he had a point to prove. He proved that point. I'm not going to dwell on that point again, but that chapter got closed up for me with the Williamson fight last year. So yeah, round it up, I'd say I see a complete Josh. I see a Josh that's not only number one in the world. You know, a lot of people get number one in the world. You're like, why are they number one in the world? He's there, and you ask anyone who's been with him in the amateurs and the pros in training, you know, anyone who knows the game, and you can see exactly what this gentleman can do. And I think what you just said really sums it up. Is it's knowing that going into those big fights. That doesn't mean he can take the eye off the ball, so to speak, Saturday night, because we've got someone, and that again, that's all part of getting ready for that big shot, which will come in 2024. You know, the rankings are the rankings for a reason. You know, we know the champs. I think that will come in 24, but at the moment we focus firmly and solely on Saturday night. Let's not get carried away with that this is the homecoming. You know, it's nice, celebrate afterwards, but, you know, job to do. And with Adam and his team, you know, it's not like this is the first time Adam's been there. Not saying you're really old, Adam, or something. I'm just saying you've been there before. And, you know, so yeah, the complete Josh. I think that's really the difference. But it's a lot down to, I think, the way it's gone with the Troy fight last year and the way it's developed over this year as well.
Okay, we'll come back to Josh and we'll bring Adam in a minute or two. But first, I want to throw to the man standing in Josh's way, the man who wants to ruin the homecoming, Placido Ramirez. Welcome, Placido. When you were offered the fight with Josh Kelly, was it easy to say yes and accept?
Cuando ofrecieron la pelea con Josh Kelly, fue fácil aceptar la pelea.
Pues primero que todo, darle las gracias a Dios por la oportunidad. Sí, desde que mi apoderado me habló de la pelea, le dije que de una vamos a coger la oportunidad y enfrentarlo.
Yes, since my manager told me that we had this fight, I told him, yeah, let's go and take the chance to win.
When you look at Josh Kelly, what do you think are his strengths and what areas do you think you can maybe exploit on Saturday?
¿Cuáles crees que son los puntos fuertes de Josh Kelly y cuáles crees que son los puntos débiles?
Pues lo que estuvimos viendo en los videos, en la pelea de él, fue un boxeador que se mueve mucho, rápido, pero igual nos preparamos bien para el tren de pelea de él.
He's a boxer that moves a lot, but I'm prepared and I've been training for the style of fight that he'll bring.
When we look at your records, we see 17 knockouts. Is that your biggest strength, your punching power, or have we underestimated you?
Cuando vemos tu récord, vemos que tienes 17 KO. ¿Ese es tu mayor fortaleza?
Sí, ahorita venimos en una buena raya en el boxeo. Estamos subiendo y la estamos metiendo fuerte en él.
Yeah, definitely. I've been punching really, really hard, and I'll keep punching harder, and I'm punching harder every time.
Okay, thank you. Let's bring in Adam Boo, the man who will have studied Ramirez more than anybody. Adam, what sort of challenge stands in front of Josh at the weekend?
He's experienced. He can punch. He comes to win. He looks to win, and that's the most important thing, because the bigger the challenge, the better that Josh performs. So when Rooknap pulled out, the biggest concern was, can we get someone that's going to keep him turned on mentally? So I'm grateful for Ramirez taking the challenge.
We mentioned it earlier, Adam, about Josh saying last week to me about feeling like he's punching harder than ever before and coming into those prime years. Are you feeling that in the sessions? Are you seeing that when you're training together?
Have you ever, if you have to put your forearm down into an ice bucket of water for 5 minutes after every session, and it hurts, and I have to, because if I don't, I can't sleep at night because of the throbbing. And I've held the pads for some big punchers over the years, and I can safely say that Josh has that element in him, because he's such a fluid, flowing mover. Making him a sharpshooter with the dangerous hands is the one thing that I knew I could add to his game, and it's then fusing that sharpshooting style in with his natural flow. And as he's coming into his prime now, and he is absolutely in his prime, I can see everything is starting to come together nicely.
I mean, we spoke probably back in July ahead of the Corzo fight, Adam, about potentially what could be down the line for Josh, and indulge us, if you will, and not looking past Ramirez, of course, and all due respect to him. But what do you want to see? What fights would you like to see Josh grab or have the opportunity to take in 2024?
Well, I mean, if you want my honest answer, I don't care. Tomorrow's not promised to anyone, and that's one thing that we live by now, that live day by day and stop heaping this bullshit pressure on yourself of trying to be too commercial, too cheesy, making noise, because everyone's making noise. One thing that I've known from day one since Josh, when he first came into the gym, and I put him in sparring with Andy Lee and Billy Joe Saunders, who at the time had just fought for the WBO World Middleweight title, and both of them got out the ring that day saying, this kid's special. What's become apparent actually over the time of knowing Josh is just how much tough talent there is up in the Northeast. It's actually a bit strange that it's never had the profile that it should do. And Josh, now being in his prime, is leading that charge. And for me, I'm a Crystal Palace fan. So it doesn't matter if it's Sunderland or Newcastle, it's the Northeast. And I think the Northeast should celebrate that. Yes, they're always going to have that freakish rivalry with each other, but they also got to respect the fact that from this area, there is some genuine, unique ingredients that is giving tough talent.
Josh, do you think that's something that maybe your rivals, your potential rivals, overlooking you? That grit, that toughness. They see the skills, they see the slip, they see the moving, they see the speed of punching. But actually, is it also one of your biggest assets? What's inside?
Yeah, well, when I first boxed, I was a fighter. I never really boxed much, and I start learning to move my feet, start learning to move my head and my hands. And I went, listen, my dad was coaching us in and out all through my life as an amateur, and I says, it looks fucking easy to do it this way than fighting. And he was like, we should start doing it like this. So I mean, I learned to box, and when you learn to box, it's a beautiful thing. You don't need to leave your chin out there, and you don't need to be tested. But I can hold a punch. I think everyone knows I can hold a punch, and everyone who's been around us and the punches I've been in with, sparring and fighting, it just shows I can. And it's not, to be honest, it's you don't want yourself tested too many times. Anyways, I think the best people, the toughest people in the sport, the likes of the Mayweathers, who don't get tested all their career, and then they get caught off like a Mosley and he can hold the shot. Do you know what I mean? It's not about taking shots to show you're tough. It's about avoiding most of the shots. And if the one catches you at one point in your life, then you got to keep it moving. But yeah, the toughness and grittiness is in us. I think you're born with it up here. We're not. There's not many chances and opportunities you really get up here. So especially when you're born in the sort of the 90s era and stuff like that, you've got to just really grind it out. So we've we've made something for ourselves. All the lads from the northeast up here on the table, we're all doing something for ourselves, and we're all doing something for our families. Which, in the end of the day, when you're giving them a better life and you're giving them a better life than what you've ever had, it's a beautiful feeling. And I feel like all of us are blessed just to be performing at home in front of a crowd like this, and especially blessed to be performing in front of Sunderland. So it's unreal.
Just looking to Saturday, Josh. You know, what sort of message and what sort of statement do you want to send to your rivals with your performance Saturday? Look, you know, Callum mentioned number 1 with the WBO, 4 in the IBF, I think 11 or 12 with the WBC, brilliantly positioned for big fights. What do you want to say to your rivals at 154 with how you perform on Saturday?
Yeah, I'm not bothered, to be honest. I don't give two fucks whether they think he's fucking shit or he's good or whatever. Do you know what I mean? I know what I'm made of. I know what I do in the gym. And I know, listen, everyone can have the opinions, but opinions are like arseholes. Everyone has one, do you know what I mean? And at the end of the day, you're doing what you do in the gym and you're performing a fight night. It is what it is. I'm gonna do me, and if they like it or not, then it's up to them. If they're worried or not, it's up to them. But when they get in the ring and they get hit and they can't see the punches coming, they get left in spaces and gaps where they're like, well, why did I miss like that? Then it's all it's all downhill from there. So yeah, I don't really give a fuck, to be honest.
Carlo, what does 2024 hold in your mind for Josh?
Big fights. Everyone knows I like a domestic blockbuster. You know, there's a few names circling around.
Say them.
Obviously, Chris Eubank Jr., Conor Benn. I've heard Kell Brook returning. You know, there's some very, very interesting domestic fights to make. You know, at the same time, there's big world fights to make as well. I'll be honest, if a promoter can be honest, is I prefer the British ones because they're big. You know, they're the ones. But we'll see. You know, we'll see what we can do. We've managed to do a few big domestic fights over the years. In fact, I think we're the only promoters this year that have done pay-per-views in the UK through 5 times. So you know,
I think I marmalised them every single one of them. Yeah. Absolutely marmalised.
Josh, which one of those 3 names that Callum mentioned would you want the most?
Fucking any of them, mate. Absolutely. They just keep dancing about each other and just fucking this contract and this contract and this drug test and that and fucking. Why are you not fighting each other? Do you know what I mean? Just get in, get it done, see who's the best, keep it moving. It is all about politics and who can make the most money at the end of the day and the most eyes on the sport. So I'm not one to be shouting and bawling, but like, yeah, these just need to keep it moving and get on with it. But yeah, that's another story for another time. I've got this guy on the left to get dealt with on Saturday first.
Absolutely, and we will wrap up shortly there. But before we do, obviously customary to get everybody's prediction. Placido, can you give me your prediction for your fight with Josh Kelly on Saturday?
¿Cómo crees que va a acabar la pelea? Pues, como todos saben, no me gusta pronosticar la pelea. Si llega a decisión, Dios bendito.
I don't like to say what I think, but whatever, it's fine. Decision, knockout, however.
Josh, Ramirez, obviously confident. I think that's no surprise. But what's your prediction for how it goes down at the Beacon of Light this weekend?
It's got to be a win, but in the fashion I do it, it's just we're not choosing when and how and what round. But yeah, it's going to be a win, 100%.
Calla, final word, final sort of message to the fans, whether they're tuning in on DAZN, whether you say the Sunderland supporters coming back from Bristol maybe, or guys who've got a ticket for the show. Why are we tuning in? Why are we taking our seats for this event on Saturday?
Well, I think if you're from the North East, I think this will be probably the first time in many years, and unfortunately, it'll be a while. I think, given the fights we're looking at for next year, realistically, those will be either in places like London, Las Vegas, wherever the boxing wind takes us. So this is a great time to see if you see your hero before he goes and does that, and we will return. We will return and fill up that stadium next door, but we've got to go do some work in between.
Excellent. Okay, well, thank you, Robbie. Thank you, Travis, Ben, Dan, Adam, Josh, Placido, and Tom. Thank you very much. Remember, Saturday night, Beacon of Light, and live on DAZN from 7 o'clock.
Formalities at the top table done here in Sunderland. Josh Kelly and Placido Ramirez have looked at each other in the face, they've looked at each other in the eye, and they've said a few words, albeit via translator, to one another. And can we read anything from what we've just seen up on the stage there?
Listen, I think one thing I did notice, about Josh Kelly, is I'm much more down to business, Josh Kelly. I think even in the comment at the end, like, listen, I've got this man to deal with first, but I'm not bothered which one of them I fight. You know, the big domestic fights that Kelly was asked about, or Phil asked about. He seems much more focused, much more straight to the point, business-like than I've ever seen him. So whether you can read into that and think he's going to start fast, he's going to look to go out there and put on a show, I think that's more or less certain. That's what Josh Kelly always to do. But I think, listen, it was just business is business, isn't it? But it was definitely the most. Straight up. I don't know if fired up might be the wrong word. I've seen Josh Kelly, but he looks very good.
I'll be honest, I was kind of hoping the translator, Maxi, who's just walked past us, I was kind of hoping he would do us a favour.
Back and forth.
Yeah, when they were asking the question of the opponent Ramirez, like how do you expect to win, or how do you expect the fight to go? I was wanting him to say maybe, I'm going to knock him out in 3 rounds and spoil the party, but. The fact that neither fighter did that, and listen, you know this better than I do. When you're in that position, are you kind of done with it? Are you kind of done with the throwing insults?
Yeah, of course. And I think, listen, it was respectful, but I think at the same time, both men are very confident. Both men are very confident of the victory on Saturday night. Not just Josh, but also Ramirez. He did say, I'm not just saying knockout points, but it'll be a Ramirez win.
We've just seen Josh walk past us. I think we're going to get him up here any moment. But one thing that I was happy to see, and I was happy to see it yesterday and again this morning and again just now and hopefully again in a minute, is the smile on his face, because it's been well documented before that fight weeks are big, intensive pressure, especially when you're a fighter like Josh Kelly, but now he seems calm, he seems happy.
Very relaxed.
Listen, we all know the cliche about the happy fighter, etc., but he seems to be that guy right now.
I just think he seems very relaxed. Obviously the one about happy fight being a dangerous fighter, and I believe that's what Josh Kelly is right now. But I think it's coming maturity. I really believe that's coming maturity. And, Josh now, he's at that age where he thinks, no, I'm ready to make a serious assault on my world title. And early on in his career, the talent was always there, but the timing, it wasn't the right time. And I think it's I think him and Adam have got a very special relationship. I like that, and you can see sort of how he's about. And I always think Adam he said something, he tries to release some of that pressure from him. And I think that's sign of a very good coach. Mind you, mentor, I think he would be as well. Then towards Josh, I think he does a lot of good things, for him, and you can see the trust between the two, between the pair. You can see the trust between them.
Well, I think Josh and Adam are just about ready to come up and join us up here, and I think it's great what you say. I think it's exactly right when you say a coach is more than just a left hook, 1-2 straight right. He's more than just that. And Adam Booth, I think, epitomises that as they come up and join us.
I genuinely believe that between these two. Here they are now.
They're coming up and joining us. Adam Booth and Josh Kelly, come take to the stage. Is this like an Ant and Dec thing about which stand you side on? You think you could?
Then it's like white bread.
Well, I tell you what, let's move like a little sandwich.
Sesame Street.
We're showing our age a little bit now with the Sesame Street.
Mate, you've been a bit short, mate.
Josh Kelly,
magnificent. I'm like Josh Kelly off Wish, aren't I?
What a humble man. Josh Kelly and Adam Booth, thank you both very much for joining us. Adam, we'll start with yourself. We were just speaking about you then. What did you learn about the opponent up on the stage with the things he was saying? He was a man of few words. Do you take anything from that, or is this just another day in the office?
It doesn't mean anything what they say. You look at what they do, and there's enough evidence to see what he does. You can amplify it a bit and make him slightly more aggressive, or make him more determined, or make him more negative. You can amplify him, but there's enough evidence of what his style is, what his strengths are, what his vulnerabilities are, and we've been doing this long enough to know that that's just bum fluffery. It doesn't mean anything.
You were saying about taking the pads up there. You've had heavy hitters over the years, but you kind of alluded to Josh having more venom in his shots now. Is that the sign of a progression? They often talk about fighters coming into that man strength, coming through and developing and filling. Is that where Josh is now, ready to move on to that next level?
Yeah, and there's so much more involved in it. When you're trying to simplify, is he hitting harder? But it's not just about whether he's stronger or whether he's quicker. Yes, he is maturing and he's coming in. He's in his prime now. Not even coming to him. He's in his prime. Yeah. But especially fighters that have movement and hand speed, there's an impact point. And it's actually releasing the energy at the impact point that becomes the hard thing. Yeah. Because the quicker they are, the less time they've got to focus that energy at the point that it lands. You don't want them tight before, and I'm talking about fractions of a second, and you don't want them tight after. You want that explosion at the point of impact. Yeah. And a combination of his physicality improving and his impact point from different positions is what's unsettling me on a daily basis.
Adam, I was just going to ask then, I remember sitting in a restaurant with you in Glasgow in 2016 and you just saying what a special talent Josh was. I always remember it, so I always knew from then on, keep a close eye on Josh. Do you believe, like you say, now he's in his peak, this is the right time? Obviously, we'd never overlook Ramirez to make that serious assault on a world title.
Yes, I mean, look, I've said it, like, whoever it is now, make it.
Yeah.
You know, and having seen enough fighters over the years and realizing that talent is one thing, but talent's got to suffer on the journey, right? It's got to suffer mentally, physically, and emotionally, and come through the other side better than they went into that period. And that's where I would say 99% of fighters drop off.
Yeah.
The talented fighters, because we've all seen immense talent over the years. And Josh is probably the biggest talent I've seen in terms of watching him step into the ring with 2 world middleweight champions, shuffle his protector down, and look like he was going to sit on his bed and watch TV.
Yes.
He's now, even after only 16 or 17 pro fights, he's gone through a journey that normally takes fighters 25 to 30 fights to go through. Physically, mentally, technically, emotionally, and all of it. He's come out the other side way better than he went into it. So that's probably the best way of answering the question.
Josh, I mean, over to yourself. This is the first time as a pro in Sunderland. I guess you're going to be asked a lot of questions about the opponent and who's next and, how you are as a fighter. But for the moment, you're coming back to your hometown. Does it make this fight week a little different at all, knowing the faces in the crowd, maybe a little more than you might usually?
I mean, but I love being back. I love being back home. This doesn't change anything for me. A fight's a fight. You can put me in a back garden, I still do the same thing. I've been doing it since I've been young, going and sparring places and different things, and I just love it. Like when you get in the ring, it's just different. The crowd. If you're silly enough to play along with the crowd, then you can get dealt a bad hands. You need to just keep yourself internally right, everything on point, and that's where I'm at the moment in my career.
Josh, I was going to say, I said it early myself when talking to one of the other undercard fighters, and Adam mentioned it then. I always feel like the North East, it's been abandoned terribly, and the talent that comes through the amateur gyms from your Newcastle, from your Sunderland, Middlesbrough, it's great that we're seeing more and more shows in the North East, and it's fair to say you're the main guy at that, and you're the one who everyone wants to be like. What does that mean to you? We saw you in the gym earlier in the week in the amateur club. What does that mean to you that you've got kids in the North East looking up to you?
Mate, it's massive especially when I went back to one of the local gyms in Sunderland, and the response I got, like not being up there for so long, and I'm homebred. I lived up there until I was 16, 17, and then I lived in Sheffield with Team GB, and then from there London to get down with Adam and everything like that. So I've sort of been out of Sunderland since I was 16, but to go back and get the response I had, and like the guy who owned the gym, Richie Dunn, he's a big shout out to him. He's a lovely bloke, and I didn't bring a towel, and I had nowhere to shower, and he didn't have any showers on, and he was like, listen, you need to come over the road, you get a shower in my house, do you know what I mean? And him and his missus just brought it straight over. And I was like, no, I don't want to be taking liberties. I'll just go back in the cab like this. He was like, no, you need to come get a shower and all that. And it's like proper homegrown, like it feels like everyone's doors open, do you know what I mean? You just like the old school days where you could walk in and walk out. It felt like that was lovely.
Yeah.
It's definitely the community feeling. We mentioned it with Adam there. It's been mentioned up on the stage. You're going to get it all week. Are you able to turn off the distraction of, well, you could fight Conor Benn next, or you could fight this person next, or that person? Are you able just to flick that switch off and think, I could fight A, B, or C? Like you said up on the stage, Adam, you don't take anything for granted. You've got a job to do first in front of you here with Ramirez.
No, listen, when you've had and knows yourself, when even in sparring, for instance, you bring people in sparring, they've had not much experience, next to non-experience, but they're good lads and they come in. And if you think, well, I'm going to have a little play today, you go in, you get checked. Do you know what I mean? You get checked constantly, and it's good at this stage of the game to be like, listen, you need to take everyone, and you be humbled by anyone. So you need to take everyone serious, and it's not taking it serious for me. It's going in there, enjoying it, and putting a play on in my head, like going in there and just dancing and starting the way I need to start. When I do that, it doesn't matter if it's Ramirez, Knapp, any of them other names you mentioned. It wouldn't matter if it was any of them. I'm going to do what I'm going to do. So I'm not focused on what the opponent does. The opponent's just an opponent. It doesn't matter if it's a name or not. It's just getting in there and getting the job done against them.
What are you most impressed with Josh Kelly?
With Josh, I just think I love the lad's movement. He's judge of distance. I think I've said it off camera. I believe now at super welter, light middle, I believe Josh is a 12-round fighter. Now I've always thought he's an unbelievable talent. I always thought at welterweight, obviously with maturity as well, it was probably hard for him to fight because he's a very high energy fighter. I think, the reactions are brilliant on him, and I think it's probably hard to do that when he was probably boiling himself down that little bit more. I believe at super welter, we've got a world champion here for sure, but obviously we can't look past Ramirez on Saturday night. But I think Kelly was mentioning those names domestically. No matter how good of a performance Josh puts on Saturday night, I'll be almost sure they won't be calling him out after it because they know it's a tough night's work.
Yeah.
Is that something that resonates with you, Josh?
And hit the nail on the head. It's like these guys they want to play around with each other because it's easy, it's big money, it's easier fight. If A gets beat by B, and then they can throw down to, listen, it was the high, and they still get valued fights after that.
Yeah.
It's similar to what's going on in the heavyweight division now, a little bit, I think. Listen, you could fight him, but why him fight him now and him get beat and then all the money train stops? Why don't we just keep it going, do you know what I mean? I'm the guy who's going to stop it, so, or bring some more money to the table. It just depends how you look at it, but I'm a live fighter, I'm in my prime. These guys won't want to fight me.
The lightweight division is an interesting one because I see the point, but at the same time, maybe that domino is starting to go. We are starting to see Garcia Davis, we saw, not so long ago. Do you think that maybe we are edging towards that in the super welterweight division, that maybe as soon as that one fight goes, that opens up the door? You mentioned Eubank and Ben and Brooke, and once one of these guys fights and we have a winner and we have a loser, their careers open up. Do you think maybe we're on the brink of that domino going?
That's a good point. I think it needs someone to make the first move and say, listen, I'm going to put me a little bit of a, not ego, but I'm going to put that sense of like, I don't want to lose, to the side and go, listen, I'm laying it all on the line, let's go, do you know what I mean? And if you come out the back of that, you become a superstar. If you don't, there's still fights there for you. Like you said, you're still a name, there's still going to be huge fights there for you, but just need someone to roll the dice. I rolled the dice early in my career when to be honest, I should never, the way I was at the time, I should never have really been in a ring. And I'm only reaping the benefits of that now, really, in a sense. So I feel as though it's my time now to claim what's rightfully mine and come and take these lads at 154, like Ant says. I'm not drying myself out ridiculously. I'm a 12. Troy come at me at a pace for 12 rounds. Compared to what I've seen in box the other night, the 12 rounds against me was vicious. So I can do that all night, hit and move, and I've got some stick on my shots now, so it could be early nights.
It's a very mature response, Adam. You must be proud the way Josh has developed as a person, not just as a fighter, since working with you.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing to see, and actually what this is all the stuff that's not to do with boxing. This is about life and realising that we're not long here, and tomorrow's not promised to anyone. Don't take yourself too seriously. And like we say, I said to him the other day, do you remember when David Hay beat Ishmael Abdul at Altrincham Leisure Centre?
I was there.
Right?
Ringside.
So he
12 rounds behind the jab. Not many do remember it, do they, in the crowd? I remember it.
Who cares?
Yep.
Who cares?
Yeah, that night he got some stick, but then no one remembers that fight.
We just said win that fight without throwing any shots. That's what we did, right?
That's what I'm saying coming through Connor's career. There'll be fighters there where look, that was a fucking hard fight, but no one will ever remember that.
Bad nights, that's what I mean.
But the people remember,
of course, they remember the good nights,
Lomachenko's, Quigg and all that, do you know what I mean? That's all
But my point is realising that nothing lasts forever, nothing matters, and just fucking enjoy it. While you try and enjoy it as much, because there's going to be days that you don't enjoy it. There's going to be days where you might be tired or irritated or have had a row or be in a bad mood. Ride them out and just enjoy the days that you don't, and you give yourself the best chance of being the best version of yourself. And And along with that and everything that he's gone through, there's a maturity. He's an intelligent fella that is able to work his way through things mentally as well. And I'm now at the point where it feels like most of my work is now done. Like I'd step back, what else have I got to say? We can keep polishing everything, but it's now time to just enjoy what you are and let's see where this goes.
Absolutely. Well, bad days and good days. We're certainly having a good day today. Josh and Adam, we'll let you run on. I'm sure there's plenty of media here waiting to get their questions in. Adam, thank you very much.
Squeeze me fucking hands
much appreciated. Thank you very much. We're going to bring in promoter Calla Sowland, the man behind the event as well, here in Sunderland. It's live on DAZN this Saturday night. Josh Kelly, PBK, as he makes his way off to do media commitments. Calla Sowland will come and join us. And great to speak to the guys. Really mature responses there from Josh Kelly.
It is, and I was sort of saying it before, like, one, it was business-like, but I think Adam said it there, you know, he's not taking it too serious, but he's like, no, my times. Now you also get at the same, without contradicting himself, you know, he's not taking things too serious, but he's also very much business-like, no, I'm ready for these fights. I'm ready for these big fights. I'm in the prime of my career. He sounds in a great place.
He does sound in a great place, and one man that certainly would have appreciated what Josh was saying up there is on our left now. Calla, good afternoon. Welcome to Sunderland. How's it feel being up on the stage with Josh?
Yeah, like I said, my last time up here was England, Turkey many moons ago. They put this fantastic match up here. I must have been about 20s, early 20s. So that was the last time I've been in Sunderland, So great to be here. The arena on Saturday, first time in over 10 years. Josh Kelly returns home. As I said, probably also the last time for a while. I think the big fights. We're not looking past Saturday, but the big fights will be made most likely in places like London or Manchester or Vegas or
always
boxing ends up. But we will return one day here and fill this stadium as well.
Well, it was that point I wanted to pick up on, because that was what I loved about when you said, we've got some work to do, but we're going to come back. No one knows as well as this man next to me here what it means to fill out your home arena and have your hometown. We said it to Josh there.
Well, he did it on multiple occasions.
He did. And listen, the UK has had loads of great fighters over the years, but not all of them have encapsulated the imagination of a city.
But that's what I thought was brilliant then with Josh. Like Josh said then, he's been away from Sunderland, but he's still very much a home boy, but he's been away from 16, 17, the GB set up, and then obviously London with Adam after the Olympics. But he said he still feels at home, and the turnout he's got on Saturday night, and possibly one of the toughest weeks of the year, shows that Sunderland are very much behind him.
It's incredible, isn't it?
Yeah,
it's
brilliant.
Incredible. You know, we'll have a sold out crowd Saturday night. I think there's 100 tickets left.
Yeah.
How much? I'll ask the question now. Yeah. How much in those big fights did that help you?
Oh, massively.
You know, hugely.
Massively, and I think I was sort of saying before to Chris, I think that Josh he's a showman. He's a showman, but at the same time, he's very much focused. Like, there might be the odd glimpse of someone from ring said, "Oh yeah, I know him more. Not seen him in so many years, but brilliant. He can't touch him." But I think he's an entertainer. He's a showman, and I think he's going to embrace every bit of that under the lights, every little bit under the lights, the cameras. And he's going to enjoy that. And I think he's going to enjoy that on Saturday night. And listening to him, how he's sounding, he sounds so much more mature, but at the same time, very much business-like. Thinking, no, I'm coming into my own now. My confidence is through the roof.
I think mature's the key, isn't it?
Absolutely.
You know, you often hear fighters, especially early in their career, they talk a lot, and then when they walk a lot, then they find out that it ain't that easy to talk the talk and walk the walk at the same time.
Yes.
And I think that when you listen to him, and I was asked, what's the difference now when you sign him? I think that the experience he had with the loss, coming back, being written off, getting himself in that gym, putting the graft in the gym, has paid dividends. But also, not just boxing-wise, the way he carries himself. You know, there's that a demeanour about him where you think, you know, this guy is in a good place.
Yeah.
And that's
at the same time, the confidence though as well. You know, when you mentioned the free, or Chris mentioned the free, I said it just then with Adam and Josh. You know, like your Conor Benns, your Shoebank Juniors, like you can see he backs himself against any one of them. He does, but he's not there for the small talk or anything like that. He's just, if we're not going to fight, right, move on, I'll win a world title. I get that vibe from him.
Not messing about with the words with him.
No, there wasn't.
He's straight to the point. yeah, you know, but it's that confidence where you can see it can be backed up. You know, I think that's the key here.
Yeah. I remember when Josh Kelly first signed with Wasserman, and we had the media day in the office, and you and I sat on the big row chairs, and you spoke about your pride of signing a fighter with the caliber of Josh, and you sat there on that day and said, "This is a future world champion. This guy that I've signed, you had your arm around, this is a future world champion." And we've got a journey to go on, and we went on and we fought the likes of Peter Kramer in Liverpool, and then we had to come back and we had a couple of South American fighters who were there to give him rounds, give him tough tests. We then had Troy Williamson that brought a test in two kind of ways, because the physical test of a good boxer like Troy, but at the same time the heat of a local derby, you know, the British title on the line, the size, the magnitude of the fight. He came through every test with flying colours. That moment when you sat there and said, "I've got a future world champion," is this the path? Is this the vision that you had when you sat there in that moment?
Yeah, I mean, I've got to be honest. The names, like Peter Kramer, I've forgotten that name since that night. So Troy was a big pivotal point. It was about closing that chapter of what had happened before.
Absolutely.
The rest of it, for me, has been fights along the way of some serious hard graft in that gym. So, yes, the fights have been important. There haven't been, you know, if we're honest, there haven't been like, you know, life or death situations. Not in the literal sense, but there haven't been cliffhangers in there.
Yeah.
But it's all been part of a planned journey. The Troy fight was a very calculated risk. Let's not forget, going into that fight, it was pretty even in terms of the public opinion on it. I remember Boxing News doing a poll on it, and a lot of people were split on it. They said, can Troy's the sort of fighter who's the style that everyone thought, he's going to gas against him.
A lot of people thought he was going to get Josh in the second half.
He's going to put it on him, and he's going to gas out. I remember I had a fella behind me, a lovely fella from Newcastle. My ears are still ringing. Who kept on for the first round. He's gassing Josh. He's gassing. But that was the feeling. So it was, that fight was so pivotal. Also so the public could see what Josh is doing. The rest of it has been part of a journey that's really taken place behind closed doors. You can see what the work that he's done in the gym. You can see the way he mentally carries himself. And are we there yet? No. We're number one in the world. We're the number one challenger in the world. Not champion yet. And as I said, whether that's the next step or is it the big fights, you know, it's a paid profession. You know, he's not a bricklayer at the weekends, right? So this is how he gets paid. We've got to look for the big fights. The big fights are those, the Eubanks, the Benz, the Kell Brooks, those names floating about around that weight. You know, also Florian Marku, interesting fight as well. Let's do a lot of tickets. So you've got, as a promoter, we've got to be looking at that as well. So we're looking at both paths. But at the same time, Josh Kelly wouldn't, because of the type of fighter he is, he wouldn't be a happy man if he didn't retire without winning, you know.
World title, I'm
standing there with a world champion. But that is, you could, of course, the money, and people say, no, the money comes second. No, you've got to make sure that there's bread on the table and there's a roof over your head. Then comes the world title. That's just sorry to excuse the lack of romanticism in what I'm saying. But if those big fights is what it needs to be, and by the way, when it comes down to the world titles as well, those are great fights in a way to lead into a world title fight. So the ideal would be start next year with a big domestic blockbuster and then move into a
final
world
eliminator,
title.
you'll be there, mandatory.
And they're the kind of fights that we could see London, Manchester, Sunderland, or anywhere in between. This Saturday on DAZN, it goes down. Josh Kelly takes on Placido Ramirez in what is a great fight, not just for the sport of boxing, but for the city of Sunderland. It's a homecoming, first time as a professional for super welterweight fighter now. Josh Kelly, he looks to bring it in ahead of a huge 2024. We can't wait. We'll see you Saturday night live on DAZN.
I'm Josh Kelly. This is my hometown. This is Sunderland, baby. Come on. I'm a fight night fighter. Give me the lights, cameras, everything. I go out there and perform. The best Josh Kelly on the night beats anyone in the world. It's fight night. I've been ready from day one.
baby.